welcome to the No Filter Cricket Show. So, the first topic of the day is basically on the next ODI World Cup, which India is hosting. But there is a complete mess, and there is no other word. There is a complete mess where scheduling is concerned, and a complete mess where ticketing is concerned. And the obvious question arises is that why does it take so long to get something right here in India, despite the fact that BCCI is one of the richest, if not the richest board in the world where cricket is concerned. I have two good men assisting me with their very strong opinions. And first, my friend CS, and then Sandeep Mishra, who is the editor of NNI Sports, both men who have enormous experience. So my first toss would be to CS. And CS, first of all, let's begin with a focal point. Now, the India-Pakistan opening match is considered to be the most valuable of this ODI World Cup schedule. Everybody's focused on it. Now, it was supposed to be 15th of October. Then they said that is Dandiya night. That is when the Garba begins. You can't have it on that day. So let's move it. So they haven't come and fixed another date. Also, very strangely enough, it happens to be Babar Azam's 29th birthday. So are we afraid of something?
This is too good. I didn't hear about this, But yes, if that is the case, if, in the good old days, we used to avoid that Friday, Jumma's day in Sharjah, that we are going to lose there. So that was the kind of fear that was, there in our minds. And now it is Babar Azam, or tomorrow maybe some other's birthday, Muhammad Amir or anybody. So this is quite, again, laughable, I would say. But yes, this is the first time, Arup, that a board team, the BCCI team, which comes out with all this scheduling and all, which has very good minds. I know them personally. उन्होंने कभी गलती नहीं की थी कोई भी शेड्यूलिंग में. They had always been, very particular in selecting the matches, in the scheduling, everything. But this is the first time कि वो भी mess में है. Why there is a mess? Because you don't have a clarity from the top. इससे पहले कभी गड़बड़ नहीं होती थी. ऊपर से कोई भी लोग ज्यादा कहते हैं ना वो नहीं उसमें इंटरफेयर नहीं करते थे. But right now everything is being coming from Ahmedabad. When I say Ahmedabad, it is Mr. Jay Shah, the junior Shah. So जब हर एक की इंटरफेरेंस रहेगी उन लोगों को, they are so uncertain, वो लोग डरते हैं, तो आपकी शेड्यूलिंग में यही सब प्रॉब्लम होगी. कभी आप किसी दांडिया नाइट में होगा या कुछ, क्या वर्ल्ड कप मैच के लिए क्या आपको दांडिया नाइट और ये सब कुछ को समझ नहीं आ रहा. और दूसरा, the most important thing is Pakistan Cricket Board. अभी तक they have not come out with their state of mind, whether they are going to come to India or whether they are going to play India-Pakistan league match. They are very clear about the final match. If they ever reach that final stage, they can play anywhere. But in the league match, they are very particular. They are not going to play outside Bangalore, Chennai, or Kolkata. So there is still uncertainty. So there are a lot of things which is happening, and under Jay Shah, I can only say that this is the first time in my, I would say 25, 28 years experience with BCCI कि हम ये सब चीजों में फॉल्टर कर रहे हैं और बार फॉल्टर कर रहे हैं. और इसको कभी नाम आपका बर्थडे, कभी मेरा, और अब तो बाबर आजम. तो इट्स अ वेरी वेरी क्लासिकल जोक, आई वुड से, जो आईसीसी वाले ऑलरेडी दे आर इन टाउन. दे आर कल वो हैदराबाद में लोग विजिट कर रहे थे, आज वो शायद दिल्ली आने वाले थे. तो दे आर ऑलरेडी इन टाउन, दे आर इंस्पेक्टिंग स्टेडियम्स, और आपकी शेड्यूलिंग ही ठीक से नहीं हो पा रही है. एंड दिस इज वर्ल्ड कप, नॉट एनी डोमेस्टिक सीरीज और एनीथिंग एल्स.
Sandeep, coming to you, before you even begin to react, I would definitely ask you one more thing, which is that quite a few of the cricket columnists have started joking in their columns, which is actually a sad commentary, that why is there such a bloody mess where the scheduling is concerned. They are giving instances of previous World Cups where the schedule, the ticketing process was locked almost 1 year in advance. Now here we are just 2 months away, and yet this mess seems to just go on and on and on, and we are reduced to jokes.
Arup, thank the Lord, at least, it's not Jay Shah's birthday on that day, because then probably a lot of other things would have been happening. But yeah, jokes apart, I'm a little surprised that, we still get surprised. That's the whole issue. Listen, culturally, we are people who do things at the last minute. We are masters of that. the last 24 hours, whether it is a World Cup cricket, whether it is a marriage, whether it is a party, whether it is the G20, even you name it. I mean, you have a whole Commonwealth Games legacy, coming up at least 2010.
बिल्कुल
We know all of that has happened. And I think also CS would recall 2011 when the match India versus England was taken away from the Eden Gardens and sent to Bangalore because the stadium wasn't ready. And at that time, I think Dalmia was saying that this is all a conspiracy happening and all of that. So I think also in a good way, okay, let's take it a little positively also. And my positive take on this is that, okay, 90% of the sports coverage in this country goes to cricket. And now with all of this happening, that goes to 96%. So digitally, it's a massive, big revolution. And who knows, this was masterminded, more and more pages will be opened, more and more views will be there, more and more clicks will be there. And just imagine we are doing a show on it, because of a schedule issue. So look at it positively that, things will anyway get sorted out. And in the last minute, you'll still have a great match, a great World Cup. Didn't we say that about Qatar, that, it's going to be a disaster? In the end, what happened? It was a great World Cup.
CS, coming to Pakistan, now there is a very strong feeling, or best described in Hindi, चाहे किसी से भी हम हारे, लेकिन पाकिस्तान से हमें नहीं हारना, हमें घबराना नहीं है. To paraphrase Imran Khan's immortal lines, हमें घबराना नहीं है, हमें पाकिस्तान से हारना नहीं है. वो सब तो ठीक है, but we keep getting hammered in important matches relentlessly by England, Australia, and New Zealand. Hardly there is any chatter about that. This India-Pakistan match is again being hyped like crazy. It is going to be more or less scheduled at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, and that evokes strong reactions from the Pakistani side. Also, how do you assess this big fight between India and Pakistan on a cricket field?
But I think by the time we'll reach that stage, Arup, we would have played, I think 2 or 3 matches already. Asia Cup mein, we are going to play them twice, and if they reach final, and obviously we both reach final, then it could be 3 matches before that. So I think hype-wise, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि उतना hype नहीं. Hype in a sense, negativity की hype तो जरूर होगी. Whether we are going to win in Ahmedabad, whether they are going to make us, bite all whatever we have done in Ahmedabad. So that kind of, negativity will be there. But cricketing way, I think this is a worst kind of scheduling in terms of कि आप एशिया कप पहले खेल रहे हैं. एशिया कप भी पहले नहीं खेलना था, वो पहले खेलना था. वो हमेशा आप रिड्यूस, क्योंकि आपकी गलतियां, आपके जो ईगो इश्यूज है, उसकी वजह से वो पोस्टपोन होता है. वो पोस्टपोन होकर के लास्ट में ऐसी विंडो में आ गया कि अब आपको वो कभी श्रीलंका आप खेलेंगे, कभी कहीं खेलेंगे. तो उस वजह से तो वो हाइप, शायद क्रिकेटिंग जो हाइप है, जो भी होगा, मुझे लगता है कि वो थोड़ा मर जाएगा. लेकिन वो दूसरा पॉलिटिकल हाइप ज्यादा होगा. और दूसरा, अभी लास्ट वीक की बात, आई रिमेम्बर आई वाज डूइंग ए शो फॉर पाकिस्तान टीवी एंड समवेयर, वहां पर फॉर्मर क्रिकेटर्स और ये सब लोग भी इसी बात में लगे हुए थे. दे वर एडवाइजिंग पाकिस्तान बोर्ड कि आप डर क्यों रहे हो, आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम है, अगर इंडिया नो कर सकता है तो आप नो क्यों नहीं कर सकते. तो जब इस तरह की जो सिचुएशन है, जब माइंडसेट आपके दोनों तरफ से है, तो आप एक चीज समझ लीजिए, ये जो कहते हैं ना बॉइलिंग पॉइंट जो होगा, वो क्रिकेटिंग नहीं होगा, वो कहीं और से आ रहा होगा. दोनों साइड पे टीवी पे लोग बैठकर डिबेट कर रहे होंगे. इट विल बी जस्ट लाइक एनी अदर पॉलिटिकल कमेंट्री रादर देन दिस काइंड ऑफ कमेंट्री. और एक और चीज, जो लास्ट मोमेंट वाली संदीप बात कर रहे थे, अभी तक जो टिकटिंग में भी जो प्रॉब्लम है, अभी तक ना टिकटिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, और ये दो एजेंसीज को दे दिया उन्होंने. उस पर भी हमें जरूर बात करनी चाहिए.
So Sandeep, coming to the cricketing point and developing this forward from what CS also said. So now the facts basically are it was supposed to open from the 10th of August digitally, but no call has been taken. BCCI is not very fond of all of this going digital because in the past some of the portals crashed. Secondly, there is a fear of duplication, that is fraud ticketing. But in this day and age, what do you expect people to do? Line up in queues outside the stadium like we used to see in the heydays of Mr. Bachchan's films like Dawn and Amar Akbar Anthony, where the queues used to go up for 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers. Times have changed, and this also has to change.
I think it's bizarre, I mean, you honestly look at it. I mean, a person needs to go online, he needs to book his ticket, block in various centers. Now, whether he's from India or from abroad, and then he flies in. For a moment, just imagine a guy is flying in from Boston, Frisco, Kuala Lumpur, Australia, all of them coming in for this once in a lifetime chance of watching a big game, watching India. And he blocks the ticket online. Then he comes back here, and at least at some centers, which I believe is 6 to 7 centers, he will have to go back to the queue because he needs to pick his ticket up. Now, that's the most bizarre situation you can ever have. I've seen it in a couple of world championships in India where you have to first block your ticket, then you go to the queue. Why can't you just have it on your mobile phone? Why can't you just go, the scanners check your ticket, and you are whisked into the stadium? I mean, what is the issue? We are supposed to be way ahead when it comes to IT. So where is the information technology? Where is all of this not tying into cricket? I mean, this is where sometimes you do wonder, where is all the money that the BCCI says that they are the most powerful going? At the same time, what is soft power? This is soft power, where you actually control things which are not just cricketing issues, but also fan issues. At the end of the day, what do we want? We want to go into the stadium, which is clean route. We want to park our cars. We want to go into the stadium, watch the matches, come out without any issue. Now that is a fan issue. Nobody talks about it. And that is the biggest issue that actually happens in most countries. That the first thing or the first line that needs to be controlled and done properly is that the fan moves in smoothly. I don't think it's going to happen again.
And one more thing, Sandeep.
Yeah, yeah.
Ticketing की जो मैं बात कर रहा था, they have given now contract to two of the online giants. Obviously, everybody knows Paytm and Book My Show. So there
Yeah.
is so much of rivalry and also a competition within them. Because एक को मिला है कि लीग मैचेस करवाएंगे और दूसरे को मिला है कि वो सेमीफाइनल फाइनल करेंगे. I mean, अजीब सी सिचुएशन. And then somebody who was obviously involved in ticketing for a very long time, I called him because somebody wanted tickets for the Australia matches. Somebody was coming, if a group of 50 people were coming in from Australia. So they wanted a complete block tickets for all Australia matches and then semi-final, final. Okay. So they were asking me, I said, no idea, but this is the guy who used to, control this ticketing and all. So they called him. So he was completely ignorant था कि क्या होने वाला है. A guy who is going to handle the tickets, उसको अभी तक नहीं मालूम था क्या होने वाला है. But yes, he gave them a solution that, blah, blah, these two officials are there. They are controlling most of the tickets, sir. हमारे पास भी बहुत कम आएंगे, तो आप जाइए और इनसे सीधा डील कर दीजिए. This is the kind of situation right now in BCCI.
Okay.
You talk about the
Yes,
professionalism.
let me ask you this specific question, which is that while we are discussing things that are not right, Sandeep hammered the point on the ticketing issue. You are speaking on other aspects also. But the point is, let's call a spade a spade. Who is responsible for this within the BCCI? Someone has to be responsible.
The CEO of the company.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Sandeep, carry on.
No, of course, it comes down from the top. Who's going to be responsible? You can't have a middle rung responsible for this. Everything stems from the top. I mean, you look at any Olympic Games, and CS has been to quite a few. You look at any Olympic Games, whether it was London, where I still remember CS typing away all the hockey reports and all of that. But at the end of the day, we also understood that it was run pretty smoothly at that point of time. Everything was on time, the buses were on time, everything. But of course, that's a multi-event, which is larger. Now, if that can be done so efficiently, if that can have people right from the top, even a man like Sebastian Coe, who was probably just looking at the track and field part of it, was constantly monitoring at least 3 months before. Do we have anything of that sort here happening? Is there any transparency in terms of the BCCI meeting today? Okay, the media is also sitting there, understanding and trying to understand what is happening at every center, whether it is ticketing or whether it is buses, whether it is seats, whether it is toilets. And I constantly come back to that toilet part. हम लोगों को अब एक आदत पड़ गई है कि 6 किलोमीटर चलना पड़ेगा. लेकिन ODI वर्ल्ड कप है या T20 वर्ल्ड कप है या IPL मैच है या टेस्ट मैच है, हम चल लेंगे. लेकिन at some point you have to understand that the game is being run by the fans. We are the people who are actually running this sport. And I think somewhere along the line, as CS constantly hammers, that the top rung is just not efficient enough.
And one more thing, Sandeep, लोगों को समझ नहीं आता कि टिकट्स कितने मिलेगी, किस टिकट के लिए आप लड़ रहे हैं. In any given match, बॉम्बे, दिल्ली, कहीं पर भी आपके, बिकॉज ऑफ योर मेंबर्स, बिकॉज ऑफ योर कमिटमेंट्स टू वेरियस एजेंसीज एंड गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स, एक टिकट ऑन एन एवरेज 4 से 5 हजार टिकट सिर्फ बिकते हैं. इफ देर इज a स्टेडियम कैपेसिटी ऑफ say 50-52,000, सो आपको 4200 4500 टिकट्स दिल्ली में बिकते हैं. सो व्हाट आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट? इस 5,000 में से आप खरीदने के लिए इतना सब मारामारी करेंगे? नहीं. वो जो जितने भी पासिस और जितना भी ये बेवकूफ, खैर एक्साइज वालों को भी बनाते हैं और हर एक चीज को वो 1000 रुपए की टिकट में 100 रुपए रख देंगे, तो वो सब कुछ सिस्टम एक चलता है. दैट इज अनदर गवर्नमेंट वर्सेस these टैक्स ऑफिशियल्स, इनके अगेंस्ट होता है. बट अगेन आप किसके लिए लड़ोगे? और दूसरी बात, when we are talking about the fans experience and everything, you can see कि अब जैसे दिल्ली ने अनाउंस किया कि हम 50 करोड़ तो जो हमें बीसीसीआई से मिल रहा है हम वो लगाएंगे on what, not a new stadium, on the renovation of the stadium, और 75 करोड़ अपनी जेब से लगाएंगे. इसका मतलब कि आप पैसे को इधर उधर लगाने में लगे हुए हैं. If you remember couple of years back there was some match, I did a story, I don't remember exact match, 42 या 44 करोड़ से इन्होंने सिर्फ टॉयलेट्स की रेनोवेशन पे लगाए थे. यानी कि वहां सोना चांदी गढ़ के दिया था या हीरा मोती लगाए थे. अब ये 125 करोड़ उस दुनिया के उस वर्स्ट स्टेडियम पे लगाएंगे. मैंने इससे ज्यादा खराब स्टेडियम नहीं देखा. लेट मी बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, मैंने बहुत घटिया घटिया स्टेडियम देखे हैं, बट आई कैन ऑलवेज से कि दिस इज द वर्स्ट स्टेडियम और द वर्स्ट फैंस एक्सपीरियंस जो आप कहते हैं, जो इन टर्म्स ऑफ वाचिंग क्रिकेट. तो इस पे 125 करोड़ लगाओगे, उसके बाद आप कहोगे यहाँ चलना है, ये एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा नहीं, वैसा नहीं. तो लोगों के लिए आप नहीं कर रहे, ये सिर्फ अपने लोगों के लिए कर रहे हैं. जो लड़ाई झगड़े चल रहे हैं आपस में, जो मारा मारी चलती है पैसे के लिए, ये ठीक वही हालात चल रहे हैं. और अगर आप स्टोरीज पढ़ते हैं और गूगल करना शुरू कर दिए बीडीसी के जो इंटरनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है, तो फ्रॉम सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट टू ऑल काइंड ऑफ फेवरेटिज्म पे सब कुछ चलता है. सो गॉड ब्लेस दिस क्रिकेट.
Okay, let me quickly race through two more points before we hit part 2 of the show. And one of the point is actually good news. So let me also be the harbinger of good news. And I'll paraphrase Jay Shah, who said that spectators will be getting free water at every World Cup venue, and it will be sponsored by Coca-Cola. And food and non-alcoholic drink would be available at the grounds, of course, at a cost. It will be hygienic and it would be sold at affordable pricing. Quick reactions, gentlemen. Sandeep, first.
What is new? अरुण, पानी तो पहले भी मिलता है, वही गंदा पानी आपको कहीं भी मिलेगा. अगर आपके वही आरओ सिस्टम, आपको इनफैक्ट यू शुड बी सरप्राइज. लोगों को गलत फहमी है कि पानी नहीं मिलता. पानी हमेशा मिलता है. in so many stadiums. We did a story, NCT took cognizance of that story कि ये पानी जो ग्राउंड में भी पानी दे रहे हैं वो भी आरओ वाटर था, which is harmful. फिर इन्होंने एफिडेविट दिया वहां पर कोर्ट में कि नहीं जी हमारा ये आरओ नहीं है. इन्होंने बेस पे आरओज लगाए हुए थे. सो दिस इज ऑल आई वॉच. ये कुछ भी बोलते रहेंगे जय शाह या किसी को, बट द पॉइंट इज जब भी पुराने जो चाहे डालमिया थे या शरद पवार थे, कुछ भी, वेदर दे वर गुड और बैड इज अनदर डिबेट, बट एटलीस्ट क्रिकेटिंग उसमें अपनी नाक नहीं अड़ाते थे. क्रिकेटिंग पार्ट उन्होंने जीएम क्रिकेट जो आज भी हैं, या सीईओ जो पहले तो नहीं होते थे, आज तो सीईओ भी हैं, इन सबको दिया हुआ था और उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी थी. बट नाउ द प्रॉब्लम इज कि सीईओ सिट्स इन मुंबई, ऑफिस इज देयर इन अहमदाबाद, तो उसको 3 दिन तो सिर्फ वो कहता है ना कि वहां पर नाक रगड़ने के लिए जाना पड़ता है कि जय भाई कहीं दुखी ना हो जाए, उनकी शक्ल देखते रहे. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस इज हार्मिंग दिस, जो ये हम सब बात कर रहे हैं कि यार प्रेपरेशन है और किस तरह.
Sandeep, quick reaction on this free water.
I think it's a very simple thing when everything is going to be decided by just one person, And unless that person sits down on a table and looks at every avenue of the World Cup, no decisions are going to be taken. I think then that leads to huge issues. Huge issues when you're doing such a big World Cup, It's not a small one, whether it is a multi-event or whether it is a single event like an ODI World Cup. The ODI World Cup is India's Olympic Games. At the end of the day, the T20 World Cup is India's Olympic Games. And I think these are the ones where decisions should have been taken a year back. Whether you want Coke to come in or Pepsi to come in, that is something that Jay Shah will anyway decide. Nobody is going to take the call on Coke or Pepsi, because now that is a big call at the end of the day, because it's a multinational out there trying to sell something and at the end of the day gets its branding. But again, we come back to the same point. Where is that team? Have we seen that entire team led and governed by one person? can I see 35-member committee, 40-member committee? No, I see only one person in this entire scenario. So when it's one person led, then you have big issues happening.
Okay, CS, now one last quick point, which is that where this ODI World Cup is concerned, they are basically, Jay Shah is saying that there are 2 or 3 ICC members who have raised objections. Now, the counter to that is that why is BCCI allowing anyone to raise objections about schedules, etc., now when this whole process is fixed quite a few months in advance? CS, can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't hear your question. Sorry.
Yeah, well, basically what I asked was that Jay Shah has gone on record saying that the delay in schedule is happening because 2 to 3 ICC board members have raised objections. So the counter to that is that why is BCCI allowing these objections to come in so late?
You know, this is again एक बच्चों वाली जो होती है ना कि बच्चे एक मेरा किसी ने लंच बॉक्स छीन लिया या कुछ. You know, before coming with the schedule, complete schedule, you always have a meeting. This is a ICC event. This is not BCCI event. Please try and understand. Everything is being done by ICC in consultation with the host country. So हर एक चीज को अगर आप बोलोगे ICC को प्रॉब्लम थी या किसी और कंट्रीज को, that should be coming from the ICC side. But as far as I understand.
Okay, we seem to have a problem with CS's line. Sandeep, can you take over that point quickly?
No, as he was saying that actually it's the ICC's call at the end of the day. They are the ones who are going to be responding to all this. Of course, in conjunction with the BCCI, because we are the hosts and we need to be understanding that. But again, I think the moment we show our weakness by, trying to change a couple of things here and there and not being, taking a schedule which should be taken at least a year in advance, the others are bound to take a few liberties, and change a couple of dates here and there, which
Right.
I think now it completely depends on the ICC whether they want to do it or not.
Okay, let's hop over to the second part of the show, and that basically involves the poor preparation for the ODI World Cup where our team is concerned. Now, as a hook, let's look at what is happening in the West Indies. So we lost the second ODI quite badly, and the experimentation was on the youngsters who have not been able to rise up to the occasion. Then our India coach Rahul Dravid, he gets slammed for saying basically not involving Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma in that team. But my opening point here is that let's not worry about the West Indies tour. My point is that what is the kind of team that will be playing in this ODI World Cup, and why are we still dancing in the dark? Yes.
देखिए, पहली बात आरूप, India can have, the kind of money Indian board has. They can have multiple coaches or the, various other support staff when it comes to, preparation for World Cup. Now we are stuck to, obviously we are sticking with the Rahul Dravid, जिनका खुद का जो, अगर आप ODI की पूरा वो देखें तो there is within the team, there is one, एक सेक्शन मानता है कि राहुल द्रविड़ is not fit to be a ODI coach. उनका जो माइंड सेट है खेलने से लेकर आज तक वो बिल्कुल एक टेस्ट क्रिकेट वाला है. राहुल द्रविड़ इज बीइंग ए ग्रेट प्लेयर, बट माय पॉइंट इज कि राहुल द्रविड़ कभी भी इतने अच्छे स्ट्रेटेजिस्ट नहीं हो सकते वनडे के. नंबर 2, बिफोर द लास्ट T20 वर्ल्ड कप, इफ यू रिमेंबर, जो गल्फ में हुआ था, उस वक्त हम टीम को प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं. हम कभी भी टीम को प्रिपेयर पूरा कभी कर ही नहीं पाए, तब भी एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन में थे उससे 5-6 महीने पहले तक, और आज भी हम एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन कर रहे हैं. तो हम कब तक ये एक्सपेरिमेंट करते रहेंगे? क्या आपको नहीं पता जसप्रीत बुमराह बिल्कुल फ्रेजाइल हालत में है. ही इज कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम ए इंजरी एंड दैट टू ए स्ट्रेस फ्रैक्चर, जिससे पूरा आपका करियर खत्म हो जाता है. और उनका जिस तरह का एक्शन है, जो इतना इरेटिक एक्शन है, उसमें उनको इंजरी किसी भी दिन दोबारा हो सकती है. वो वापस आते हैं एनसीए हॉस्पिटल, मैं तो उसको हॉस्पिटल बोलता हूँ एनसीए को. वहाँ क्रिकेटिंग कुछ नहीं होता, वहाँ सारे बेड लगे हुए हैं मुझे लगता है, और डॉक्टर वीवीएस लक्ष्मण एंड डॉक्टर राहुल द्रविड़ वहाँ पर कोई मेडिसिन देते हैं इनको, और ये वहां से आ रहे हैं और इनको सीधा आयरलैंड ले जा रहे हैं विदाउट मेकिंग इन प्ले सम ऑफ द डोमेस्टिक मैचेस. छोटे मैचेस खिलाइए, आप जाएंगे फुल स्ट्रेच अपने आप को पूरा करेंगे, और फिर अगर इंजर्ड हो गए तो इंडियन प्रिपरेशन तो कहीं नहीं रहेगी. There is nobody who could replace, Jasprit Bumrah. वो
Okay, so yes,
बहुत जरूरी है हमारे लिए.
I'll move this point forward to Sandeep. Sandeep, when since the issue of Bumrah has been raised, so the great Kapil Dev just recently gave an interview and where he said that, which I thought was very controversial and oddball. Now to blame the BCCI for looking after Jasprit Bumrah for over a year and ensure and still failing to ensure that he appears for Team India in the ODI World Cup. Then he says, why are we wasting so much time on Jasprit Bumrah? So what is the BCCI supposed to do? Dump him, put him in the dustbin? What else? I mean, he's a premier fast bowler. They have invested time, money, and obviously they've looked after him well, but he's still not fit.
Well, in the larger scheme of things, I think CS would also agree that, and you also, that he is probably your biggest match winner. But there's a question that I would probably also ask CSA is that if you're going to bring in Jasprit Bumrah at some point of time, knowing that, okay, these many days are left for the World Cup and he needs to be blooded in, he needs to at least get a gauge of how his body is responding to particular overs, whether it's 5 or 10, in terms of the ODI. If you play domestic cricket and if you play in Ireland, is there a big and massive difference in that?
संदीप एक और चीज जो आप बोल रहे हैं, आई कंप्लीटली एग्री एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज टॉकिंग. आपको देयर इज अ वन बुक जो बीसीसीआई में वैसे ही एक लगा देनी चाहिए इन कोचेज और ये जितने सो कॉल्ड स्टाफ है. वो डेनिस लिली की बुक है, द आर्ट ऑफ फास्ट बॉलिंग. ही हैज डिस्कस्ड अबाउट नॉट अबाउट हिज करियर ऑफ फास्ट बॉलिंग बट आल्सो हाउ ही केम बैक फ्रॉम इंजरी. वर्ल्ड के फास्टेस्ट थे, देन ही केम बैक एंड हाउ हिज स्ट्रेस फ्रैक्चर और वो सभी उसको प्रॉब्लम्स थी. तो उसमें बहुत से एक सिंपल फैक्टर एज ए कोच और एज ए प्लेयर आई ऑल्सो कैन अंडरस्टैंड और आई कैन ऑल्सो एडवाइज एनीबडी इफ यू आर कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम इंजरी, आपको जो लोड है वो धीरे धीरे बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. फ्रॉम 30% यू हैव टू ब्रिंग इट टू 40-50 एंड देन प्रॉब्ली मैच जो मैच लाइक सिचुएशन है, वर्ल्ड कप काइंड ऑफ थिंग, वो तो लास्ट में आपका एशिया कप के भी बाद आपको पे इतना लोड आएगा. बट बीसीसीआई बिंग बीसीसीआई सीधा कप्तान बना दिया. कप्तान का मतलब मैं इसीलिए मेरे को प्रॉब्लम ये है, आप उसको कप्तान नहीं बना रहे, फाइन, वो वहां पर जा रहा है, मे भी किसी मैच में 2 ओवर किए या नहीं भी किए बाहर.
Right, Sandeep.
I think also probably, I think the bigger question also is that now looking at the Asian Games team, which is probably a clear pointer towards what is that 15 that's going to be playing the ODI. I think both of you will probably agree that, looking at Shreyas, whether he can make a comeback or not, looking at the average of Sky, which is really not instilling a lot of confidence in most, I think most of your 15, except bar 1 or 2, probably decide your ODI squad in so many ways. So, barring an injury, which Jasprit picks up or probably, or he's not fit enough, and whether BCCI can take that call that, okay, we don't see Jasprit Bumrah fit enough to play the World Cup. Can that situation happen? Can the BCCI actually take that step and say he's not going to be playing because we do feel he's 60% or 70% there, but there is still a lag of 20-30%, which probably may decide whether you win or lose crucial matches.
Okay, my closing question to both of you is, since we are running out of time horribly, I'll go to CS first, and Sandeep, you can react after that. We've discussed this often, that there are basically 3 formats of the game of cricket. You have the test team, you have the ODI team, and the T20 team. Now, possibly the simplest solution was to have 3 different teams, and you have a limited overs captain and you have a test captain, which in India, all the time it gets juggled. So what is the simplest solution according to both of you? That should we have these separate teams with their fixed captains, and with the way England had a great time with Owen Morgan, one of their most successful captains in the limited format, and they didn't mess with their test team, and now see what a magnificent job they are doing. CS.
But Arup, why not different coaches also for the different formats? What is making you? The point is that अगर आप राहुल द्रविड़ की mentality के साथ, mindset के साथ, if you're approaching the T20 or maybe one day, this could be a disaster. knowing his mindset, knowing him over the years, and watching him play the kind of cricket he used to play, he was very impeccable when it came to Test cricket. But otherwise, he was horrible as a player or a captain, I would say. As a captain, so he was actually completely horrible, I would say. Team was divided into so many camps during his tenure. So anyway, but why can't we have different coaches? And then another one thing is that BCCI ko bhi, they have to understand that the preparation or the experimentation, that only happens when you are out of these cycles. 3 months before the World Cup or 2 months before the World Cup, you can't keep on experimenting. You have to give confidence to all your players. आपको ये इस वक्त अगर कप्तान और विराट कोहली को बाहर बिठा रहे हो या दूसरे को एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हो, तो टीम इज गोइंग टू लूज टू ए टीम व्हिच हैज नॉट इवन क्वालिफाइड फॉर द वर्ल्ड कप. तो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ, जो कहते हैं ना, सेंटीमेंट्स टीम के अंदर होंगे, या आप किस तरह का सिग्नल भेज रहे हो? तो ओवरऑल इट्स ए कंप्लीट मॉकरी, आई वुड से. बट यस, somebody has to take this responsibility.
Okay, Sandeep, closing comments, please.
I think we like living in chaos in so many ways, whether it is our cricket team or whether it is our political systems and all of that. But I think probably both of you would also agree to a particular point that there is an overemphasis on the T20. And now that bleeds into your ODI thinking, it bleeds into your test match thinking. And I think the moment overlaps happen, that is where the chaos steps in. But again, as CS is also mentioning, that somebody needs to differentiate all of this. Now, who's going to do that? Whether we really have the capability or the people at the top to be able to sit with all the three minds and create structures, now that is for the future to decide. But at the moment, I do feel your T20 is going to bleed into most of your thinking, and that is exactly what's happening.
Okay, we close the show today on this point, and the concluding points would be that both the experts on this show are basically suggesting that you have three different teams, you have different coaches, and use coaches who are good in that format. Don't shove a test grade into a limited overs game, and then we have a royal mess on our hands. We really hope that India gets its acts right for the ODI World Cup, which is not too far off. And obviously the scheduling and ticketing process also has to be settled by then. So thank you to both CS and Sandeep, and to our viewers for watching. We'll be back with more soon on the show. Bye.
Thank you.